Hello. Welcome to episode number 8 of the Mom Entrepreneur Playbook. My name is Natalie Peterson. I am the host of this show, and this is a podcast and show where we talk all things health, happiness, and business strategy for mom entrepreneurs. So today I am coming to you fresh off of a day that was just great with the family. It's a beautiful day here in northern Minnesota. Springtime is officially here, and it was just one of those days that made you happy. You know what I mean? It was like blue skies, gentle wind, warm weather, and just one of those days where we were playing and carefree and enjoying ourselves. And what a perfect topic, what a perfect day for the topic that I have to discuss on today's podcast, which is upgrading your happiness and why it matters. So the Mom Entrepreneur Playbook is deeply rooted in health and happiness strategies, along with leadership and business strategy. But I want to specifically focus on happiness today because I think it gets this reputation as maybe one of those overused words, a buzzword, or something that we all know is good to have and even nice to have, but it's not necessarily a must-have for everyone, or it's not something that we all think is attainable. And so I want to talk a little bit about happiness, the psychology of happiness, the science of happiness, just so you can start thinking about deeply what happiness means for you and your life and your business. And it's been a few years since I really started getting more interested in the combination of health and happiness, which has led me down some research in positive psychology, specifically with the book, The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor, sitting right here on my desk, actually. So if you're watching the video recording of the episode, you might be able to see this. It's an awesome, wonderful book. If you have been interested at all in just how do we know happiness is so important, or if you're just interested in the research behind it and positive psychology, it's excellent. There are endless examples of why happiness is so important, and that it's not a nice to have. It is absolutely a must have for so many reasons, but most specifically that what studies have proven now and what we know from just countless data and compiled research is that happiness is something that comes prior to success. And so that kind of takes me into one of the things I want to talk about, which is this I'll be happy when syndrome. I'll be happy when syndrome, what I call it, is that idea that, okay, happiness is a nice to have. It's something that I want and something I know is important, but it's a nice to have. So therefore, I will be happy when I finally get my dream job. I will be happy when I finally lose the weight I've been trying to lose. I will be happy when my kids get a little older, and then I'll focus on myself and my own happiness. I'll be happy when I retire, when I find the right partner for my life. And what we know now, based on the research, is that the happiness doesn't necessarily follow you achieving the success that you want. It doesn't necessarily follow you achieving your goals. I'm not saying it never does, but what we've seen time and time again is that when you focus on you, your own self-leadership, your happiness, when you focus on that first, the successes follow. It's a prerequisite, if you will, for your success. And so for the purposes of this podcast and this discussion right now, I want to just define what happiness is just for us, because I think everyone has their own definition of happiness, and that's okay. There is no one definition, I don't think. And so for us, I think of happiness as your overall joy and contentment with your life and your satisfaction with your day-to-day, your connection with other people. I think that's a big aspect of our happiness. How connected do we feel to our immediate friends and family, but also to our community? How connected do we feel to just each other is a big component of happiness. And then I also look at levels of stress and burnout in terms of in terms of happiness, health too. But specifically with happiness, I like to look at how stressed are we? How much are you dealing with anxiety and burnout and that kind of thing? So if you look at happiness that way, it really encompasses a lot of our lives. There's a lot of different ways to think about happiness, improve happiness. There's a lot of things that can impact happiness overall. And so thinking about that and why is it so important? Because I'm going to talk today about how to upgrade your happiness, but also why it's important. Because I think once we get deep into the why and we know just in our inner core the reason for doing something and being committed to something, even when there's a bad day or even when we have a setback, I think that really makes it that much easier to get right back on track and to be prioritizing our happiness is when we know, like, why is it important? And specifically for this podcast, the Mom Entrepreneur Playbook, I'm talking to mom entrepreneurs. And so I really think our position as role models is one of the really, really big reasons that our happiness is important, because we're a role model for our kids. First and foremost, I know that my girls watch everything that I do. And this isn't to put pressure on us that we need to be perfect, but I think it is a reason to prioritize our own happiness because they're going to be watching what we do. They're going to be watching how we prioritize ourselves or not. They're going to be watching, do we value happiness? Do we value our own needs? And they're watching that. And then that in turn is going to impact how they put importance on their own self-care, their own needs, their own happiness. As they get older, they're going to use what we've modeled for them as a template for what they do next. And so that's one way that we're a role model. We're also a role model in our businesses, the people that we work with on a daily basis. So our employees, the people that we partner with to get our job done, we're a role model in that way as the CEO, as the business owner, as a business leader. There's a certain expectation that comes with that. And it's not always fair, but to be a leader, you have to set the example. I really believe that. And I really believe that to have a successful business, to have people working for you that really want your business to win, the people that really want to see you and what they're doing succeed, they need a role model that values happiness. They need a role model that values joy, contentment, satisfaction in life in general. And so if you're able to model that for them and walk that walk, even when it's challenging and hard, and remind people that, hey, your happiness matters, people want to work for someone. People will want to work for you when you make them feel valued and cared about. And so by prioritizing your own happiness, you then show them that you will also prioritize theirs. So being a role model is huge in the business, but also for your clients, your customers, the people you serve. You're a role model for them as well. And you might be the owner or a leader in a small company or organization. You also might be a business leader of a couple thousand individuals that serve clients all over the world. And people look to who is leading that organization, who is leading them, and how are their people doing. I mean, you're at the top of whether it's a very large chain of individuals or whether you serve a smaller community, you have a ripple effect no matter where you are, whether it's a local business, an online business, a global business, you are felt everywhere. So if you can be the example, that's just one more way that you can spread the good, spread the light in the world, which we all know is needed. So that's going deep on the aspect of being a role model and why your happiness is important. I've talked a little bit already about happiness and success, but for anybody, and if you're listening to this podcast, I know this applies to you, but for anyone who has big goals and dreams and wants to achieve and wants to get to a certain place in life that you're not at currently, in order to get there, your happiness has to come first. It has to be a precursor, a prerequisite, something you fulfill before you will necessarily get to that next level you're looking for, no matter what your goal is, whether it's a personal goal, whether it's a relationship goal, a career goal. I think it all applies that if you start to work on your happiness. And I'm going to give you a couple things you can get started with right away if you're craving this in your life, if it's something you really need. When you start working on you, other things happen. Other good things just happen because of it. I can promise you that. And then the last piece of why happiness is important and why your happiness should matter is that being happy keeps you healthier. Being happy keeps you healthier. It really does. We know that happier people take less sick days. They make less workers' comp claims due to injury, things like that. So we just know that being happy goes deep all the way to a cellular level. And the body is so amazing. You're such an amazing interplay of different systems. Your happiness at a cellular level impacts every system of your body. So if you're focusing on keeping happy, your health is also going to be impacted by that. And our health and why that's important and what we can do, that's a whole nother episode that I will absolutely get to, and we'll be talking lots of things health over time on this podcast. But being happy also keeps you healthy. And so keeping that positive outlook, your ability to see the good, it also will help you recover more quickly from illnesses. It boosts your immune system, just endless things. So, okay, if we know why happiness is so important, let's look at how do I choose to be happy now? If we know that happiness is a prerequisite to success, if we know that our happiness has to come first, then what do we do? And the hopeful thing, if you're listening and you're not too happy right now, or you're going through a period that has really been difficult, there is hope for that. There is something you can do. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that there are people around you, including listening to this show right now, that make you see that. And so if you're looking to be happier, I invite you today to commit to choosing happiness, to start practicing little ways that you can choose happiness. And I don't mean to diminish anyone who's suffering in any way or dealing with depression, dealing with things that absolutely suck our happiness. But instead, what I'd like to do is invite you to go down a different path with yourself, with me, with these ideas that hopefully they can work for you. So much of our lives, including achieving happiness, is trial and error. Not everything's going to work for everybody, but I think that's an important thing to remember. If you try something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean that you can't get there or you can't achieve the goal that you have. It just means whatever strategy you tried didn't work for you. And so the great thing is there's endless things. There's endless things you can do to be happier. And so I'm going to just start with 3 main ideas. The first one is to sit down and brainstorm out, map out what you value in your life. You could go anywhere from 5 to 8 things, 5 to 10. If you can't narrow down the list, that's okay. But what are the things that are most important to you in your life? What do you value? What do you place the most importance on? What do you want to be spending your life doing? What are the things you want to stand for and represent? And so when you sit down and you think about that and you write down the list of the things that you value, you can sit and see a picture of what you might spend your time doing in order to grow your happiness. And so when you're sitting and reflecting on this list, you'll start to think about, am I spending time with the things that I value? And usually when we do this exercise, there's a gap. You may find a gap between what you value and what you're spending your time doing. So that shows you where the work is. That shows you what's available to you to go from where you are now to where you can be and how you can be more happy, content, joyful by practicing and living the things you value. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to start becoming a listener or an observer of your thoughts. So what do I mean by that? That may sound a little bit backwards or odd. Like, how do I listen to my own thoughts, or how do I observe my thoughts? Simply start paying attention to what you're thinking about when you're not distracted or really engaged in conversation or in work or something like that. You know, when you're with you or when you have quiet moments, what is going through your head? Or perhaps in social situations or these work situations that I'm talking about, perhaps there is a loud voice in your head screaming something or saying something to you. Start to just pay attention to what it's saying. And the first thing is to pay attention and to sit with it and to kind of figure out what the patterns are in your thoughts. And then once you know, then it'll be very clear and there'll be a path out for you in terms of do I need to change some of these thoughts? Do I need to adapt what I'm saying to myself and about the world? Because what we think about, what we think about, we become. What you think about, you become, because the thoughts that you have are practicing for how you're going to act in the world. And so if your thoughts right now tend to go down a path that contributes to your unhappiness, contributes to your anxiety or stress, there is a way to go down another path where you think about more positive things. And the easiest way to do that is to, the next time you catch yourself going down a negative thought pattern or an anxious thought pattern, is to stop, physically stop everything you're doing and consider the absolute best case scenario for whatever it is that you're worrying about. Trust me, next time, just try this little trick. Imagine best case scenario. It might be hard. You might have to start and stop this exercise several times, but over time, it'll get easier. You'll become better at imagining best case scenario. And all this is going to do is break up the negative thoughts, break up the stressful thoughts, break up the anxious thoughts. Try that out. And then the last thing, so we've got our values, we've got our thoughts, being aware of and attentive to our thoughts. The last thing is to do one thing every day to play and to laugh. To play and to laugh. My dad has been the one talking about play for several years. First started off in reference to music and play and how that impacts your abilities as a musician. But then it started to ripple out and become bigger as a theme for him in life. And so I'm kind of using this idea here, which is, when was the last time you played like you did as a child? When was the last time you did something fun? You ran around, you played a sport, you just played with a child, played tag, played with their dolls, a game, played a board game with your family, anything, playing and laughing. That is going to give you the chemical, the hormonal needs that you have to start to shift things. Again, getting back to that, down to the cellular level of happiness. So every day, do something to play and something to laugh. It can be something little. I mean, it could be skipping for a couple of strides down the street. It doesn't have to be this huge gesture. Just, again, practicing the play, the laugh, the happiness. So those are our three big ideas about how to upgrade our happiness. We talked why, now we talked how. And then to close this out, I just have three small ideas. If kind of the values and the thoughts were really bigger ideas, and they take work, they take time, they take being ready to explore that. Those are big topics. But I want to dial in a little more on the one thing daily to play and the laugh. To play and to laugh, because that's something that's accessible no matter what, no matter where you are in life, no matter how your business is doing, your kids are doing. And so the one thing is to walk outside every day. Walking, getting that movement in, and then pairing that with getting outside, the sunshine, the fresh air, the nature, the environment, super, super important, and also directly impacts our happiness. I mean, right away, immediate impact. So walking outside every day, at least 10 minutes. The second thing is to listen to music. Listen to music that you love. Listen to music that inspires you, that uplifts you, that whether it calms you down or makes you want to dance, there is no right or wrong. Listen to uplifting music. It will move your soul deeply. And the last thing is to connect with other human beings, hopefully face-to-face, in person, have physical contact with other people, and just see one another, look each other in the eyes. Connecting can just simply be being with someone, hanging out, doing something you love. Or if you are going through a time where your happiness is really struggling and you want to improve that, consider telling a close friend, consider asking for help. Now, I don't pretend to be somebody who really knows the ins and outs of mental health and what people are going through, but I know that especially mothers in business as well, we can start to feel lonely and isolated. And it isn't always easy to ask for help or to confide in other people, especially when we live in this online social media world where everyone just gives their highlight reel best moments. And so we look around and we might see everyone else doing so well, and well, they aren't suffering. And so we just withdraw, and we don't engage because of that. But I can tell you that everybody has something going on. Everybody has hurts and fears and things that that also would make them benefit from connecting with you. So you might be surprised that the person you reach out to, you think that they're helping you, but I bet in a way you'll really be helping them too. So 3 things you can do right away. Again, going for a walk outside every day, listening to uplifting, inspiring music, and connecting and confiding. And those 3 things will start to upgrade your happiness right away. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of surface level dive into happiness. It's a topic that I think is so important for us mom entrepreneurs. I think that prioritizing our happiness and making sure that it's something we tend to on a daily basis will help you be a better you, a better woman, but then all the other roles that you play as mom, as business leader, as wife or partner. I mean, it's endless. We wear so many hats. So if we impact and improve our happiness, it's back to that ripple effect. We will get to where we want to get to. Our business will grow to levels that we want to see. It's a brighter place to be, focusing on your happiness. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening to the Mom Entrepreneur Playbook. And this is the time when I want to start asking all the listeners out there to subscribe to the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. Let me know what you think of the show. And I also have newly set up a Mom Entrepreneur Playbook Gmail account. So if you want to email the show, ask questions, submit topics, whatever you have to say, I'd love to hear from you. Again, that's momentrepreneurplaybook@gmail.com. We will see you next week for episode number 9. Have a great day.